Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, in excellence on a global scale.
As the phoenix rises from the ashes, it's time to fly. Welcome back to the next episode, the latest episode of the Phoenix Splash podcast. I am one half of your humble host, Jason Cornelius Bell, JCB. You know me, you hate me. That's all good too. On the right side of this screen, that's the better man, the man amongst boys, GLG member, dare I say, founder of this Midwestern faction of GLG guys that we have around here, Mr. Brett Jager. Brett Jager, tell me something good, baby boy.
Shit, it's been too long since we've done this. We're over a month here in between episodes, so it's great to be back. That's what's good. We've had some sickness involved and just other things here and there, and really kind of a slow part of the wrestling calendar across the water, all the way, the land of the rising sun in Japan. Yeah. You know, we were just talking before that we were planning to record last Monday, a week ago, and it's like really not much new has happened. We will have a bit of news right up off the front, but in terms of matches and shows, not really much going on in the last week. But excited to be here and talk some shit. It's been as long as we've gone without recording, and I feel like we have the least to talk about, but I'm sure we're still going to be yapping for 2.5 hours.
No, I said to myself I was not going to have us here for 2.5 hours. I wanted to keep this thing under
I think we could maybe get it in 2. We'll see. We'll see.
I said that was my goal coming in, and I'm going to try to keep us on track on that. So, on that lovely note, what we have for the agenda this week, it's going to be more of a mosh posh, a potpourri, if you will. Dare I say, a puroseau gumbo of all kinds of wrestling promotions. We're not going to get real deep into cards. We're going to jump here. We're going to jump there. We're going to tie all these things up. We're going to talk a Wrestle Kingdom on the back end, and then talk about, probably what's coming up here in a little bit, potential shows, and a Wrestle Kingdom review. But for this show, we have to talk about New Japan. They had their World Tag League tournament. We totally missed the whole thing, but we're going to go back and review that bad boy, talk about the winners, the losers, who won it, who lost, all that good stuff, and what it means for Wrestle Kingdom. From there, in no particular order, we're going to jump over to the Noah side of things and talk about a few matches there, highlighted by mentor and student versus mentor and student. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. TJPW had their 10th anniversary show, a wild 10-woman tag team match, best 2 out of 3 falls. Didn't think I would like it, and then all of a sudden I was like, what the fuck is this? We're talking about that shit too. And then another tag league, real world tag league from All Japan. Our All Japan, I guess, umbrella is starting to expand a little bit. We're going screaming at that just a smidge and see what Nakajima is up to. If you see my caption, you see what's going on. So we're going to delve into that in a little bit as well. And then from that point, we're going to jump back. We're going to talk a little Wrestle Kingdom, throw out some picks, and then finish things up on that note. But like Brett Jager said, we did have a bit of news I found fairly interesting. Let me tee that joker up. So you had a bunch of wrestling Japanese puroseau promotions come together and create this unified Japanese promotion. I'm just going to read this straight off of Monthly Puroseau, who follows the show. So in this scenario, I feel like I should do my part and take anything off of their article and go from that point. So this is straight from the article. I'll read it. It's from James Carlin. The announcement has been made of the formation of a new industry group that aims to represent professional wrestling in Japan. The creation of the United Japan Wrestling Group comes of the pandemic, in which communications between wrestling companies on event guidelines were not in unison, leading to a variety of different responses. The newly formed UJPW seeks to establish a united front where all companies can convene and help each other moving forward in such issues. Secondly, the aim of the group is to continue to develop the Japanese wrestling industry's presence in Japanese culture and work together to make sure that it prospers and maintains health in the future. Per New Japan's pro wrestling release, the companies will all continue to do their own individual businesses while, let's try this again. The companies will all continue their individual business as usual, whilst the UJPW will allow participating promotions a space to discuss concerns within the industry and enabling an exchange of information that benefits all promotions. Basically, what you have here is I would call it an Avengers of sorts with different Japanese promotions that will ultimately have a show coming up at Nippon Budokan on May 6th. You ask who's in this group? Let's talk about it. Obviously, we said New Japan already, All Japan Pro Wrestling Noah, DDT, Joshi Pro Wrestling, Stardom, Gangabar Pro Wrestling, Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and Dragon Gate Japan Pro Wrestling. So for me, it sounds like any and everyone that you've ever even heard of when it comes to Japanese wrestling and promotions are now on board with this. Brett, this is really the first time you've even heard about this. I did send you the leak, but I know you were extremely busy, like I was recovering. I was recovering from a cold. You were, doing your thing at watching the Cincinnati Bengals get in the early playoff Christmas gift. So, what do you think?
Yeah, so I had seen this had happened and at least saw a couple sentences about it, but like nothing beyond that. Hadn't read into it. Didn't intend to, but pretty much is exactly what I thought it was, and I think this is a great thing. That kind of going back to the beginning of the year, the beginning of this podcast, and really the whole year has been all about collaboration amongst all these Japanese promotions. And, obviously, we know Stardom and New Japan are now the same owner. I think DDT, TJPW, Noah are kind of all under the same umbrella. So they're, a lot of them are together by nature already, but, we've seen talent exchanges quite frequently this year.
Sure.
In the New Japan side, Kaito Kiyomiya he feels like he's just part of New Japan now, doing the G1, doing World Tag League. I was going to
say, Onward feels more Noah than he does New Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, the Nakajima Kento match happening initially amongst two companies. Now they're in the same company. The Muto show was a huge hell, Shinsuke Nakamura fucking came over for that. But, several promotions, were a part of that. And then, of course, the All Together Again show we discussed back in June, which literally was a joint show of, 3-4 different promotions. So, yeah, I think this is great. It's just, it's more on like the business. I think this is definitely less, of the in-ring product that this is going to affect. But, I think this is going to, continue to foster more collaboration. It's going to lead to more stuff like this naturally. And yeah, I think this is just a huge thing across the board and just great. I love how it's, about trying to build up professional wrestling in the culture in general. So, everyone has the same goal there. If wrestling becomes more popular, more people want to pay to go, pay for the shows, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I think this is great, and look forward to that show in May. I'm sure it should be very interesting, and then just kind of how this ripples throughout all of next year, because, we've just talked a lot about this as a theme of the year. So that's why I'm like, oh, interesting this happens, right now as the year's kind of wrapping up. And that's why I'm like, let's lead with this, because I feel like this is just kind of what the show is about in general. So, yeah, I love it.
I couldn't agree more. I was getting ready to say that. At if you go back to the very first PSP, this was the dream of what we've always kind of talked about, and now slowly but surely, it's now come to fruition. Where next year, May 6th, you're going to have this Nippon Budokan show where you're going to have 9 different promotions from Japan, in some form or fashion, all on one card, and the possibilities at that point are just blows my mind. I can't even imagine what that card would look like. It feels like it'll be a 10-hour show, and I'm here for all 10 hours. That being said, I will be curious to see more so on the business aspect of it, how they promote it, who takes the lead. Is this going to be just New Japan taking the lead and everybody else following behind New Japan, or is somebody that we don't see coming up? All Japan has been getting a lot of they had a nice little article on Monthly Puroseau, if you hadn't checked that out, where basically the moral of the story with the article was that New Japan is still number 1, but if you haven't been paying attention, All Japan has a nice little roster of young talent, and they're on the rise.
And that's why they're getting my money now, and Stardom is not.
Okay, come on, man. You ain't got I was gonna let Stardom go. I came in peace. I haven't even watched Stardom since,
me neither.
The last time we had talked. I had come in peace, and now here you go, Ray. You throwing poor Stardom in the bus. They ain't even done nothing yet. Shit. Anyway, I couldn't agree more with you on this one. I think this is going to be an amazing ride. I want to see ultimately where this goes. If they have one big show a year, I would be cool with that. If that's this May 6th show, and then it starts every year, and sometime in the spring or summer, we get a big super show with all 9 promotions, I would be totally down for that. Even the way they're doing things now, where you see like you said, Kaito in New Japan, you see Onwa over in Pro Wrestling Noah, not Marufuji, but Nakajima, obviously making the move to All Japan. I would assume Rei Saito. I was just watching the over
in DDT
tournament. He's over on loan from All Japan.
We had Yuma Anzai and the N1 from All Japan in Noah. So yeah, it's great.
We've seen it already. Now I want to see how this, if it picks up even more than it already has, because like you said, we've gotten bits and pieces of it. Now, if this is going, obviously it's a thing going forward, I'll definitely want to see how all the promotions kind of play themselves into this. And if there's like one big show per year, that's the show that I would really be curious to see. Like, this first one is going to be good, but then if they do it right, hopefully they will. It should be one big super show like every year, their own fill in the blank, whatever the hell they're going to call it. I don't want to say Wrestle Kingdom or WrestleMania, because obviously that shit's already taken, but I think there's, a room for growth here. Let's jump over real quick. Let's talk about Brett's caption. I do have a bit of a problem with that, because it is. Yeah. Well, look, I'm not saying I don't like Bishamon. Okay, I never said I didn't like Bishamon. I just got a problem with Bishamon holding the damn joint, man. I mean, what the fuck? These motherfuckers again, 3 in a row.
Repeat
for Bishamon. They win World Tag League over
as the champs as well, which rarely ever happens.
It's crazy. Well, let's take a big step back. So obviously, Bishamon won World Tag League. They beat ELP and Hikuleu in the final. So for me, Bishamon's road out of the gate was a stumbling road out of the gate, to where I almost was thinking to myself, are these jokers not even going to advance? And then in classic Bishamon fashion, they start clipping, stringing wins together real quiet, like not beating, not really, having great matches, but, they'll beat, Nagata and Suzuki real quiet. Like, next thing you know, you look up, they'll beat Taichi and Yuma real quiet. Like, even though that was one of the better matches.
That match was great. Yeah.
And then you look up, and now I'm like, wait a minute. How did Bishamon, advance to the semifinals? In classic Bishamon fashion, they do. TMDK was another one of the 4 semifinalists. I thought they were having a tremendous tournament overall, but in classic Gato / TMDK booking fashion, hot out of the gate and then fizzled out in the semifinal. They end up losing in the semifinal. War Dogs were the third. Well, I guess in this case it would be the 14. Alex Coughlin and Gabriel Kidd. Gabriel Kidd, I think, has once again just endeared myself to him even more so throughout this tournament. I didn't think it was even possible, but his crazy ass made me like him even more.
Generational talent.
Really was rooting for War Dogs to, at least get the chance to get their titles back. They lost in the semifinals. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I like Bishamon. I think even the fact that I didn't like it was champion versus champion in the final, I didn't necessarily like that, but I will give the final its credit. It was a really, really good final match. The overall tournament was a bunch of really 3.5, 3.75s, not really any 4s or 4.25s until we got towards the end. But for me, I'll give Bishamon and ELP Hikuleyo the credit for the final. I just wish that one or the other weren't a champion. Now, I see why they do it now after the fact. Okay, now we're going to have champion versus champion. It makes sense. Fair enough. Maybe somebody else could have been the champion, Damn, Bishamon's been holding this motherfucker for a little bit. That's all I'm saying, Build the tag team division up, damn it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that necessarily. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the guys. I'm happy they won, but yeah, generally I like having different teams or, new teams, etc. I didn't necessarily want TMDK to win just because we'd already seen TMDK challenge Bishamon twice and lose, so it's like, didn't really want to see that for a third time, even though I think they're deserving, absolutely. And we've certainly talked about that on this show. And you just mentioned it about them kind of getting the short end of the stick quite often. But both those guys had a hell of a year as teammates and both, surprising in the G1, I think, as well. So, hats off to them, no doubt. But yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting Bishamon to win. Frankly, initially, I was thinking it would be Yuya and Taichi. That way, you could have had Yuya kind of get one over. Not necessarily, but it's like, hey, I came in and won World Tag League on my first shot, and you jokers didn't. But that was just kind of my thought. Obviously, I wasn't really watching as it was happening initially. I was kind of behind. And per usual, was just watching like two matches per show typically. But I think I did watch at least 2 on every show, except maybe there was one I watched just 1 and a couple 3. So, about two per show. But honestly, I did have a nice little smattering of 4s and a couple 4 1/4s throughout, up until the end. So I'd have to pull up the list, but I do want to give some props to Ishii and Yano, your boy Yano, who, there was some Yano bullshit, but it was definitely minimized. It was definitely minimized throughout the tournament, but I mean, I think it was the match with Kaito and Oiwa was awesome, or Ren and Shota. I think I had it 4 1/4, the Kaito and Oiwa match at 4. So when those boys got that, obviously Ishii's Ishii, he's going to be fucking tight, and he was great the whole way. Mm-hmm. But I thought both those matches were good. I think I watched maybe one more of theirs, but wanted to give them some credit. Yeah, War Dogs were great. I think they definitely could have been a winner, no doubt about it. But like we said, or like you said, it makes sense now knowing that it's going to be champ. It was in the finals, champ versus champ. ELP and Hikuleo beat Bishamon in the block round. Bishamon wins the final. Rubber match for both titles. Better be fucking unifying them. As I've said, I'm tired of too many belts, especially since New Japan Strong isn't really much. I mean, we know they're going to have shows, but it's not a weekly thing.
Yeah,
so I think those
clearly the New Japan Strong brand, whatever you want to call it, I think is kind of being wrapped up in some form or fashion, where the New Japan Strong title is in this modern day
That's right. Yeah.
for in AEW, and then now I guess I probably should have seen this coming, considering that the Continental Classic was going on. Well, yeah, it was going on while World Tag Week was going on too. So I probably should have seen this one coming and been like, they're going to unify the tag titles as well, and I never did.
I didn't even think about it.
No, not at all, to be perfectly honest. But now that I start to think about it, it does make sense. It is what it is. I'm not mad about it per se. Like I said, for me, War Dogs would have been a good call. Yuya, Tai Chi would have been acceptable to me, especially like you were saying about Uemura, where it would have been, it seems like all the other Musketeers have some sort of feather in their cap. Shota has Will Ospreay, Tsuji too, for that matter. Ren now, it feels like he's House of Torture. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. I thought this would have been a good time to get Yuya Uemura his at least a title chance. Not saying that him and Taichi were going to win it, but I wouldn't have mind seeing Uemura in the World Tag League final and see where he was going with that. I thought he really stood out as just a single individual competitor versus like certain teams that stood out. Let's try that again. Team CMLL was one of the teams I thought just stood out as a team versus Uemura that kind of broke out of his shell individually, but within the confines of the tag team, if that makes sense.
No, I can definitely see that for sure. I thought Uemura, looked pretty good. I did think he and Taichi's chemistry was pretty weird, and I've kind of been holding this thought for a while since we haven't recorded in a while. I think Uemura definitely stepped up in ring. I think he's got a long way to go with just like his persona and his facial expressions and just kind of everything. Like his face always looks like he's kind of got to take a shit. Like he's just kind of got like a bit of a type face going, like kind of all the time. Like I don't remember when that came to me, but it came to me, and I'm like, "You're gonna love this." And I said the same thing to Azar, and he agreed and loved it as well.
Shout out to Azar. What's up, brother?
He just doesn't have that part of it down. And like he and Taichi both were like going through the crowd, kind of like Shota, and it's like it's just not really working for me. So I think he's going to be fine. The guy's obviously crazy talented. We've seen it, but he's just got to figure out these intangibles and just really kind of who he is as a wrestler, as a character, because, we know he can work. That's for sure. And all of this will come with time, but he just seems very unsure of himself out there. Would you agree?
To the character part, I totally agree with. But
just the character in terms of like who he is,
right.
not his in-ring work in any way.
I'm not sure who he is. So if I'm not sure, then I'm sure, what he's presenting is, just kind of a work in progress, which is fine. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I just think that what did they call them? Like the heat wave or something like
storm,
that?
I think. Heat storm.
Okay. What's that? I mean, that right there wasn't necessarily, kind of gene blast. That felt like, oh shit, this motherfucker ready to come in, start wrecking havoc. To me, it's just, it didn't really set up Uemura very well. We're going to see what happens as we go along. I'm not going to worry about it, like you said. I think he'll figure it out, but it's just something he'll have to do on his own time. It'll take 6 months, maybe a calendar year. I don't think it really is the end of the world. He'll ultimately get there. Let's talk about just World Tag League.
Yeah, well, real quick, I wanted to talk the final because I didn't really discuss it. I thought it was excellent. Obviously, it went 40-something minutes, which is very long. But yeah, I think
we final in the company history.
Yeah, I think they definitely could have trimmed time, absolutely. But I was still I was into it the whole way, and the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 minutes were just pretty insane. It was a lot of like 2-on-1s. I think it was ELP and Yoshihashi. It felt like they were in there for like 8 minutes straight at one point, just going at it, chopping the shit out of each other. But yeah, it was a true test of endurance. And yeah, I thought it was excellent. I thought even Hikuleo, I mean, shout out to Hikuleo, man. Again, not saying he was great the whole way through, but I think he and ELP certainly had great chemistry, and it worked. I mean, they were just kind of thrust together as a team. We've had kind of mixed feelings about Hikuleo this whole year. But I think it worked, and, kudos to him. And, what can you say about ELP? The guy has just been incredible this year since kind of going out on his own, and big things for him in the future, I think. But yeah, Bishamon, baby, they just get fucking results at the end of the day. But yeah, it was a roller coaster, down the stretch there, and just kept going.
And there were still a few teams on both sides of the block that, we had to be like, okay, what's getting ready to happen? The only thing I didn't like, and it was the final night where if you didn't like take, stringent notes like I am, and I'm, you're over counting points. You're like, okay, so what's the tiebreaker? I was doing the tiebreaker scenarios as they were breaking it down in Japanese. And I'm like, man, this is where I miss English commentary. And I know I read something about, people, either you like English commentary or you don't. And I totally get it. This is one of those times where you just needed somebody to translate that shit for you. So that way,
couldn't agree more.
That way you were on the same page. Outside of that, I thought Gato built it to where now you had 2 or 3 teams on both sides where if they won, then this team was out, or this team needed this other team to win. It was the usual booking strategies of New Japan when it comes to their tournaments that kept me interested all the way to the very end. And that's what I appreciated about the most. Did I like the booking in? No, not really, but that's just me. I'm just a mark. I like certain teams. I want everybody to get their piece in at this point. But ultimately, it kept me engaged from start to finish, and that's all I can ever ask for.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed everything I saw, and I eventually caught up and was, by the time the semis came, I was like live. So, yeah, definitely. I think with this and the junior tag league we talked about, I think they both outperformed my expectations because this is I don't think I've ever really watched every match from both of these tournaments. I'm typically kind of a cherry picker. I mean, some years I feel like I wouldn't even watch hardly any of the junior. But both of them I quite enjoyed, and I love it. I think, tag team wrestling in New Japan is definitely not the focus, but I think, both divisions showed out strong here, and yeah, we'll see, kind of see where things go. I don't know. Who do you think is going to win at Wrestle Kingdom? I know we're going to talk about it, but I feel like we just talked about this match, and I think it could truly go either way. What do you think?
So, really? No, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being.
Yes, I do.
I'll say.
I mean, obviously, smart money says Bishamon, but I mean, here's a huge way to put these other two guys
over, and that is the only reason why I'm holding out hope for ELP and Hikuleo. Plus, I think as much as I won't say destroyed Hikuleo, but we weren't very kind to him around the G1 portion of the PSP journey this year. And I think Gato might have hurt us. And I think between the two of us reminding him not so politely that he was the guy that sent Jay White packing and he needed to be booked as such, I think from that point, Gato has consciously booked Hikuleo stronger. the great way to put the cherry on top is to beat the best team that New Japan has to offer and has been built up for the last 3 years.
And that's kind of why I think they might win.
I can't say I totally disagree with you. You know me, I'm from the show me, baby.
It can go either way.
It could. I would be really not surprised, but pleasantly surprised if ELP and Hikaway will beat Bishamon. But we'll hold off on that in a second because I was going to say we're going to do Wrestle Kingdom picks here somewhere down the line, probably towards the end. I'll do it more of a BFR style. We'll do the picks at the end. Anything about World Tag League, New Japan? Oh, Ren. Thank you, Jason.
Yes,
thank you. Let's talk about Ren Narita joining House of Torture. I know that
let's first talk about kind of how this transpired for us, because our group.
Oh no, trust me, I was going to tell the story, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, then go ahead. Don't let me steal your thunder here.
No, it's yours, man. This is your pod too. We're going to bounce back and forth because I was the one that initially saw it and was, of course, was pissed off. I saw the House of Torture on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, had sucked in Ren Narita and made him flip heel. I saw this, I guess it was the day of that show. It was on
if I remember correctly, Azar sent a message to the group saying something like, I saw a New Japan spoiler last night, and I'm just going to leave it at that, or just something very vague. And I don't think
that's pretty much exactly what was said. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think you had seen it at that point yet, correct?
No, I had not seen it. I was like, okay, this could be anything, I'm not going to, go out and seek this thing out, but it's, try to avoid this if you could absolutely can. So of course, within 15 minutes, I see the spoiler because I'm an idiot and I just don't go away from it. Don't go away from social media. That's why I hate people that cry about spoilers. You can avoid spoilers if you want to. You just have to put in the effort to do so. My dumb ass did not put in the effort. And of course, I saw that Ren Narita joined House of Torture, and immediately I saw red. I could not understand what the fuck's going on. Why are you joining the fuck up Ren Narita? We just fucked up show. Now you're going to fuck up Ren. Now I'm pissed. So in my head, I'm working myself up into a shoot. I'm pissed off all day. I'm going to work pissed off. People are like, what's wrong with Jason? Fucking Ren Narita joined House of Torture, motherfucker. What's wrong with you? You ain't paying attention? Jesus. Anyway, so as the day progresses, our text thread increases where it High Five Tom jumps in, is like, what's going on? I'm just like, hey, this ain't a good thing.
You had made it clear that you saw it, and not directly, but indirectly, I knew you fucking hated it. Whatever it was. When you weren't that, you were still subtle about it, but I don't remember what you said, but I knew. And as the day kind of went on, I never saw the spoiler. And the day goes on, I'm like, okay, JCB's this pissed off. It's got to either have to do with Yano or House of Torture. And I'm like, I don't think there's really anything significant that Yano could have done, or it had to do with Yano, that's going to get you going this much. So then I'm just thinking, and I am caught up at this point, actually. So I was caught up before the semi, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home from work and I'm going to watch this immediately. And I'm even just kind of like texting you guys like, oh, is someone leaving? Is ZSJ leaving? And then I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense right now. And
I'm just like,
and essentially I'm able to just kind of piece it together bit by bit. And I'm like, is it someone joining House of Torture? And then no one is responding to me at all. So that's why I'm like, I think I'm onto something here. And I'm like, wait, is Narita about to join House of Torture? And then I turn it on and he comes out and he slaps the camera. I'm like, this motherfucker's about to join House of Torture. And I'm currently living with my parents. My mom's like, dinner's ready. So I'm like, fuck, I'm going to go eat dinner real quick and then watch it. And sure enough, I was right. I was able to piece it together using context clues. And frankly, the way it went down, not so bad. Essentially, I can't remember exactly because it was a little while ago. I don't think Narita ever got in the ring, but he was at least like on the apron, like a normal tag match. And then eventually he just gets a chair and sits down on the, in the aisleway, the ramp. He's just sitting there. And I frankly don't exactly remember how it went down. If you can kind of pick me up.
It was really a 2-on-1 match from that point. Obviously, Yujiro and Evil versus.
They were just kind of like double teaming him, and as Ren was just
forth.
kind of watching with his arms, folded type of thing.
So then obviously Shota had that final one big run where it looked like maybe he was getting ready to pull it out, and then Ren gets up onto the ring apron, distracts him, ends up getting I think it was Everything's Evil was the finish. And then from that point, that's when you finally saw Ren Narita step into the ring.
He like choked him, didn't he?
With them, and it was a little cheer party on Shota Umino, and that completed the heel turn. So at that point, I finally ended up watching the match, and I'm just like, this is the worst thing ever. Obviously, I'm not a huge.
You
fan
are hot.
But I will say that Brett did talk me off of the edge a little bit. And I will say that if Shota and Ren, they're going to feud, I think this is going to be somewhere, if this is not a standalone Wrestle Kingdom match, it's going to be something on the WrestleMania card, 6-man, 8-man, whatever the case may be. Short-term vision, I didn't necessarily like it because it's not what I wanted for Ren Narita, okay? But if you shoot long-term and if you have Ren Narita have him become the leader of House of Torture and follow his no-nonsense, more of a Minoru Suzuki kind of a House of Torture where we just kick everybody's ass, but we'll cheat. We'll pull some fuckery out of the ass, but it's just not over the top. Every time it's a formula kind of fuckery. So-and-so gets up on the apron. Here comes Show. Here comes Kanemaru. That's the formulatic fuckery I don't like. If you're going to cheat. I love heels. By all means, knock yourself the fuck out. I just don't want Ren Narita to be a part of the House of Torture.
Just falling in line.
Right. I'd much rather him slowly but surely put his imprint on this whole thing. And if that means Evil's got to get the boot because he thinks he's the leader and Ren Narita is the leader, then so be it. Ultimately, when Naito's gone, I want Tsuji to take over. Uemura, I want him to, take over just 5 guys if that's going to be a thing going forward. Same thing with Ren Narita. So in this scenario, when I stopped and thought about it, I was like, okay, now that you placed Ren Narita in House of Torture, okay, now it seems like all the Musketeers plus Uemura on the way back, they have a landing spot. They're in some sort of faction, so you could build with them for the next 2 or 3 years going forward. At that point, I was like, okay, I'm not nearly as mad. Just don't fuck up Ren Narita.
And I said it right after it happened. Just the way it went down, and then in subsequent matches as well, when I think he and Shota were on opposite sides, like Ren has almost felt like the leader. It's like, he's sitting there watching everyone do his bidding on the first turn, and then he comes in at the end, and then, even like later on, like I said, it was like everyone else kind of doing it as well, and then he joined it, and it's like Evil might just end up falling in line under him. I mean, I doubt it's going to be that smooth and like he's the leader right away, but it was just the way it happened and the way it was presented definitely felt like that's where we're headed sooner than later, I think. I mean, like you said, could it be something with Evil where there's a match or hell, I'd fucking love to see Ren Narita force Evil's ass out and he has to go do his own thing again. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to see him join LIJ again, but I'd like to see Evil outside a House of Torture again because we know how good he can be. He had some excellent matches in his LIJ tenure. Despite aside from he and Sonata's tag team run, which was very good. So I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that until you just said it. I think that could be cool. Probably wouldn't be anytime soon, but at the end of the day, Ren Narita gave off big time leader vibes. And I loved it, frankly. And now it'll be interesting to see, kind of how they do change a little bit, and hopefully they do.
Hopefully it would change, but if not, like I said, just don't fuck up Ren Narita that much.
They feel like more of a real faction now than just kind of like a piece of shit. Now that they've added Kanemaru, they've added Ren, they've got more numbers. So it's like now that they've got more numbers, maybe they can get a little bit more creative with the cheating and not just Dick Togo and Show over and over doing the exact same fucking thing.
Your mouth to God's ears, nigga. Anything else on New Japan before we jump over? We'll talk about Wrestle Kingdom, like I said, at the end of the show.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Let's talk TJPW. We rarely get a chance to talk about it. Plus, I really want to talk about this 10-woman tag team match that I thought was just absolutely off the freaking chain. TJPW had their 10th anniversary show. I believe that was December 1st of this year. So like what, 15, 16 days.
2.5 weeks ago.
3 matches that we really wanted to talk about. Let's just talk about the main event, because I keep talking about it and I just want to jump into the shit.
And that's the main course here. Absolutely.
Essentially, yeah. Yuka Sakazaki, she's finishing up her TJPW run and will be starting AEW in 2024 at some point. I'm not sure on the date on that just yet. Knock on wood. Hopefully she can go over there and get some TV time, get a little bit of a push, and not hopefully have the United States fans that don't know her. Hopefully they'd at least give her a chance. I'm worried about in that scenario because Riho has always been kind of a divisive figure when it comes to the AEW fan base, and I've never really understood that.
I think it's just the lack of consistency too with Riho. It's like she pops in and then she's gone for 6 months, and then she'll pop in for another month. And, at least Sakazaki has had a few appearances. Hell, I remember her. I don't know if it was the first Double or Nothing, but one of those first pay-per-views she was on it. And I'm like, damn, this girl rules. So, there's at least hopefully some level of familiarity with kind of the old school, weird to say old school AEW fans. But frankly, like if you've just started watching in the last year or two, you probably don't know who she is. But
no, then that would be bizarre. Yeah, if you do get a chance, go back. I believe she was she on the first All In?
The one in Chicago, the OG All In.
I don't think All In.
She was not. The only women's match, it was a 4-way. It was Britt Baker, Chelsea Green. Shit, who's the girl who's been out of wrestling, was Impact champion. Tessa Blanchard, and then I think it was like Madison Rain or someone like that had been around a little while. Anyway, no, Yuka Sakazaki was not on that.
Do yourself a favor. You're not familiar with her. Go to YouTube, do a deep dive on her ass. It would be worth the effort, and you will be entertained. I'll tell you that for a fact. I think Yuka Sakazaki is going to be a loss for TJPW, but that's neither here nor there. I think it was probably time for her to move along and spread her wings. So in that scenario, let's just jump back to the match. 10-woman tag, best 2 out of 3 falls on top of it. Yuka Sakazaki, Miyu Yamashita, Rika Takazami, Shoka Nakajima, and Mizuki versus Suzume, Moka Miyamoto, Yuki Arai, Arisa Anzu, and who am I missing? Miyu and Watanabe. So you had those 10 women in a 10-woman tag. I thought this was just absolutely fun to watch. And this is one of those matches where you had a little bit of everything. You had the usual TJPW lighthearted humor portions of the program, but then all of a sudden you had people that were getting rolled out. They believe it was Nakajima that lost the first fall to
it was
Marissa,
which wasn't that like her first pin? I don't know if it was ever, but like I think it was ever, correct?
No, I'm going to say I'm 99% sure this
Yeah.
wasn't Endo's first win, but it was like her first real big win where it was like, what? She pinned
And it
him.
was like, what, 6 or 7 minutes into this as well. And just wanted to say, it's basically like the 5 biggest stars of the company against like 5 of the young up and coming next generation, if you will, was kind of what this was. So you get the new generation scoring a pinfall in about 6 or 7 minutes. And then it's like, okay, now we're on. Now it's on.
The old guard, you could see like Shoko was
They're
like
kind of just fucking around at the beginning, and then they get that. Well, it was like a roll up, right?
Yeah, and then you could see like the look on Nakajima's face where she's like, I can't believe she just pinned me. And the young guard is just hype and ready to go. And she's like, oh, this bitch is in trouble. I was like, oh, now you're gonna fucked up. And that's where the second ball picks up where the old guard I hate to say the old guard, but to me, that's essentially what it is. Young versus new, old versus young in this scenario. The old guard takes the second and ultimately the third fall. I thought this, like I said, to me, this was a nice blend of seeing what TJPW has come from, especially like in that pre-match vignette, to see where like how far Miyu Yamashita's come. That one was just like, whoa, you really could tell how far she has developed as a character and the in-ring wrestler.
I think they had footage from like the first TJPW show is what I think that. And when she was on there, I'm like, holy shit, doesn't even look like the same person. Heck, she was probably 16 years old, 17 years old then.
Yeah, that was
I think she's like mid-20s right now.
Yeah, you just show me that girl then. I'm like, there's no way she's going to be, one of the top women in the world.
That she is now.
Yeah, she is now, totally. So in that scenario, it was good to see the beginnings of TJPW, especially for somebody like myself who has been watching it really long. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, it's cool to see that, cool to see in that scenario. And watching how we've gotten to this point where now the young guard, the Miyu Watanabe's, the Mocha Miyamoto's, Yuki Arise, those are now the new stars on the come up, and some of them I really like. Others I like. Okay, Daisy Monkey as the tag team. They're getting ready to have a match against free Wi-Fi for the Princess of Princess title. I'm really watching. I want to make sure I check that shit out because it's basically young versus old guard again. So in this scenario, I thought this was a really good way to get all 10 women, especially the youth of TJPW, on this show. The running time for the entire match was 30 minutes. So, I mean, in that scenario, there was plenty of time given where everybody got their chance to get their shit in. And I didn't think anybody disappointed by any stretch.
No, I mean, I think this was just a perfect encapsulation of what TJPW is. Like you said, you had some lighthearted comedy stuff, which is certainly, it wasn't Hyper Masao in this match, but, her type of shit where it's just, you get some clown behavior, which, I think in small doses here you're okay with. But
yeah.
You get a little bit of that. And then, just great action. You got to really see the best of everyone here. I think it ended with a pretty extended stretch of the Miyu versus Miyu Yamashita versus Miyu Watanabe. I can't remember what the final pinfall was offhand, but it definitely, been a little bit since I've watched it. But it was pretty dramatic down the stretch and just a very, very fun watch. I ended up going 4.5 on it because I wasn't really like super dialed in for the first half of it, but definitely was for the second. Could see it maybe getting a bump up on a rewatch, but it was a treat to watch. And like you said from the jump, if you've never seen TJPW, this would be the absolute perfect introduction. Mm-hmm. Like I said from the jump, the 5 biggest stars, 5 biggest names in the company's history, and then 5 up and comers, some of which Miyu Watanabe, a lot more successful than some of the others to this point, but all 5 of them with bright futures.
I couldn't agree more. I gave it 4.5 myself. Let's jump one back to the semifinal match. Max the Impaler returns to Japan. She and Palm tag up with each other, which is a weird.
I love it.
It's weird, but it's TJPW, so I don't even really.
It's weird, but it works.
It does work because it's literally Palm is so lighthearted and just
like a little schoolgirl.
And you have Max on the other hand is just basically brooding, just don't fuck with me or I'll rip your fucking head off. They faced Free Wi-Fi, obviously Hikari Noah and now Kakuta for the Princess of Princess tag titles. This was surprisingly a short match, 12-13. Free Hi-Fi retains the titles. This was another classic kind of TJPW-esque match. Go lighthearted at first, but it got down to business here in a little bit. I just wish it had got a little more time to it, maybe go 15, 17 minutes, but neither here nor there. The right team went over, and I thought this was an entertaining match overall. I gave it 3.75. What you got, Brett?
Also 3.75, and yeah, just very entertaining through and through. Had a feeling that Free Wi-Fi would end up retaining, getting the pin on Palm, which happened. But yeah, just very fun. Like I said, the Palm and Max team, if you just look at the two of them, it's like, what? But it really does work and just makes sense within the scope of TJPW. And yeah, Free Wi-Fi, what I think they haven't had the titles too long. I think this is maybe their first or second defense.
Second title defense.
Yeah, so I think they'll probably keep it for a little bit. But yeah, I thought this was just great fun. And, I know last show we recorded was like the first time I had watched any TJPW in probably like 2 months. And this was the first time I've watched since. It's just something that every time I watch it, it's always just fun to watch. I don't know. Like I said, there's always little bits of comedy. The action's good. It's just it looks nice. The presentation, just always a good watch, and always kind of come away thinking, man, I wish I could watch more of that. But there's only so much time in a day, and it has survived, whereas Stardom has not survived for me. So.
Come on, man.
But I say that because we've talked more off air about just like, me now having a normal day job and a girlfriend and all these things I did not have earlier this year. My time is I just have so much less time to watch wrestling. So I'd always thought, like, what's going to make the cut? And to this point, Stardom has not, and TJPW has, at least in small doses. But like I said, I wish I could watch more of it because it's always a joy.
No, I think TJPW is like a nice palate cleanser when it comes to wrestling. It's not meant to be too heavy. It's not meant to be too serious. So in that scenario, a nice every now and then you pop that Joker, on your palate, you should be set. So in that scenario, I'm not mad at you for it. I caught myself thinking, I need to be watching this more, and not just, right now as Christmas season is on the go at this point, and me working both restaurants, it's just. I need everything to slow down so I can catch up with my wrestling, but I'll get there eventually. I ain't gonna worry about it. One more match on that TJPW show. Vika Vaughn. I was not aware that Vika Vaughn was a thing until recently. I just caught a couple of her matches before I watched the match on the TJPW show. She was wrestling Yuki Kamifuku for the Queen of Asia title. I didn't know that there was such a thing until recently.
Me neither.
Kamifuku apparently is the first winner of said title, and Vika Vaughn challenged her for the title. 10:43 bell to bell. Kamifuku retains. This was good, not great. I wish this once again just gave it a little more time. I thought Vika Vaughn, given the 10 minutes, did as good as could be expected, but maybe not the best representation for those that didn't see more of her. I've only seen like maybe 3 matches, and this is the 3rd match I've seen her in her with. So, I mean, don't think like I'm an expert on a Vika Vaughn level by any stretch of the imagination. Neither here nor there. I thought this was good, but not great. 3.5.
Isn't it Viva Vaughn?
Yes, my V's and my C's are jacked up this afternoon. So yes, it's
that's okay. I thought it was, and no, I had never even heard of her before. And There was a little bit of sexiness involved here. Some I enjoyed that. we know Kamafuku can bring the heat in that regard, and Viva Vaughn was not looking so bad herself. But no, in terms of the actual match, yeah, I also went 3.5. I thought this was pretty good for, like you said, the time they got. Kamafuku, I kind of missed her rise up, really this summer when she made the finals of that tournament, Princess Cup or whatever it may have been. So didn't really get to see much of that, and everything I'd kind of seen of her prior wasn't not a joke necessarily, but she was always kind of not presented as the most serious wrestler. And I think she's definitely gotten a lot better, or at least showcased more. And I again quite enjoyed this for what it was and the time it got.
I agree totally. TJPW does have a Combat Princess show that is up on Wrestle Kingdom. It should be free here in the next week or so. That's probably one of the next things that I want to check out before the year is out. I don't think they have another big show until the start of 2024, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll have to double check on that. Let's jump. Anything else on the TJPW side before we forget about it?
I don't think so. Should we go to those few Noah matches here?
Yeah, let's talk about Pro Wrestling Noah. I think, what was the name of the show again?
The Best, I think.
Yeah, was it The Best? I knew I should have.
Gillette, the best a man can get.
I knew I should have wrote this shit down.
I thought it was The Best. Let's see. I'm trying. It is The Best. Noah the Best on 12/2.
Okay, so 3 matches from that show. Let's talk about the 10-man tag first. GLG with Anthony Green, Jake Lee, LJ Query, Yohei, and Tadusuke versus Goto Shiozaki, Junta Miyawaki, Marufuji, Segura, and I believe that Tsuji Kondo. So in this scenario, for me, the match was really about 2 guys, Miyawaki and Tsuji Kondo. So apparently Tsuji Kondo has taken Junta Miyawaki under his wing since Miyawaki has come back from excursion. Now, usually, at least from in my head, when you come back from excursion, you usually get some sort of little push, nothing crazy, but something to say, hey, so-and-so has come back and he's coming back to, make a name for himself, kick a little ass. Junta Miyawaki has gotten none of that since he's returned from excursion.
He's just been getting his ass kicked.
It felt like he's never left. Okay. It's like, what the fuck? I thought you left to get better and you come back and you're still taking L's. So Tsuji Kondo has taken Miyawaki underneath his ring, and underneath the Tsuji Kondo wing is a little tough love. So as poor Miyawaki is getting just destroyed, stretched out by, guys on the other side, Tsuji Kondo was like, no, don't save him. He's got.
I think he literally stopped like Marufuji and Segura. Like they try to get in the ring, and he literally says, "Nope, no."
He's like, let this little man figure this shit out for himself. I'm like, whoa, man, that's some tough love for your ass, boy. Shit, I'll be mad at the motherfucker. I mean, hey, you better come get me. I'm gonna tap the fuck out. I'm gonna let you know right now. I thought that was a great little segue. It
was great
to the match itself, a match with no stakes, with not much, not much animosity, no real heat in this. I mean, GLG and these other 5 guys don't have anything, really to beef about.
I mean, Go and Jake Lee to a small, just because they recently had the match, and I know they mixed it up here, but obviously Jake Lee won, and he's not the champ anymore. But there's at least some history. But yeah, coming in, there's not really much beef going on here.
Not at all.
But yeah, I thought, just to pick up, like, it made this, I don't want to say meaningless match, but just kind of a nondescript 10-man tag just that much more entertaining. And hell, I went 4 stars on it. I thought this was great because, the kind of the whole thing, Miyawaki, like you said, was getting just his ass beat, stretch, submission, and he ends up fighting and getting the ropes on something that you think he's going to tap out on, and was in for quite a while. And he ends up making the tag. I know GLG still ended up getting the win, but it just made the match so compelling and made you get that much more invested in something that, hell, I didn't think I'd get too invested in it. I'm just like, well, like GLG and this other team's got some, solid guys on it. So hell, this could be a pretty good match, and, blew my expectations out of the water. And I think is a nice step for Junta Miyawaki, who's a guy that, like you said, he hasn't really done shit and just loses all the time. So I think this is definitely something to build on, and I'm certainly more intrigued about him than I was before it.
Oh yeah, I was going to say I'd rather see him lose in this fashion where there's a story behind it versus, he's rolled out the curtain jerker and then takes the L, and I forget about him for the next 2 weeks until the next Noah show comes out. So in this scenario, I thought this was a pretty good use of Junta.
Very effective.
Yes, for sure. I skipped a match, so let's take a step back. For the national heavyweight title, Jack Morris, one of the big GLG guys, the lone GLG member that has a singles title now at this point. He faced O'Hara in a match that went 13:58 bell to bell. Jack Morris retains the national heavyweight title. Obviously, this was a match where O'Hara, as a junior, was going up in weight, quote unquote, so to speak. I didn't think this was a match where O'Hara was going to win, but I did like the fact that he did make Jack work, tied him up in pretzels on a couple occasions, and that's what I think O'Hara's biggest, advantage over most individuals is that he can just out wrestle your ass sometimes. Once again, good, not great, 375.
We're right on line, 375 for me as well. Yeah, I think, a nice first defense for Morris. Like you said, never was going to lose this match. And I thought O'Hara, definitely came in and gave him some shit for sure. And, he's a guy, he's definitely lower mid card in Noah for sure. But, when he gets his opportunities, this and then the singles match against Hiromu, I can't remember what it was, maybe on the joint Wrestle Kingdom thing they had. I can't remember when it was. Regardless, I thought he was good there. So yeah, he's a guy I'd definitely like to see featured a little bit more. I'm just, how I feel about Hayata. I feel like Ada's kind of being overexposed a little bit in the junior division. So it's like, why don't we get this guy featured a little bit more prominently? Because he can definitely work, and he's, definitely that more grounded style, but I think he's pretty entertaining with it for sure. So yeah, kudos to him, and just gotta love us some Jackie 2 belts, baby.
No, sublime all the time, Jack Morris.
You got that right.
He has been a nice little pleasant surprise. I didn't think he would run around with both straps, but
from coming prior to last year's N1 when his name got announced and everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy? Like literally I had to look up. It's like, it was hard to even find anything on him. So from where he's come from, a year plus, man, this guy, he's awesome. Like, he's obviously got the look, he's an Adonis, as Stuart Fulton would say. And obviously you said it, but sublime every time. And he truly is. And guy's a hell of a worker. Yeah, he's awesome. Absolutely love me some Jack Morris.
Definitely one to watch in 2024, especially this national title run. I think Dr. Wagner Jr.
has really legitimized that belt. Oh, what a run he had.
Yeah, now it's up to Jack to kind of keep that ball rolling and have some good title defenses, 4, 5, 6 in a row, something like that.
I would love to see Dr. Wagner Jr. get a shot at the big boy belt. Like, I don't want him to win it, but like with what he did with that, it's like that motherfucker has earned a shot at, let's be honest, I think it'll still be Keno, but whoever comes out of the new year with that belt, I would love to see Wagner challenge that. Maybe not right away, but just at some point in the near future, I think that would be a good spot for him.
I think the sole reason, and this is just my opinion, I think the sole reason they had him drop the title national title is that you would at least have the opportunity to move him up. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's
similar to Morris. Like both those guys kind of came in from out of nowhere and both have just taken the ball and fucking run with it. And yeah, two of my favorite guys in Noah for sure right now.
No doubt. They're both their N1s, not 23s, not this year's N1s, but the 2022 N1s. Those were the two guys that really stood out to me in that scenario and made me a believer on both guys going
and
forward.
Both of them have just gotten so much better since then. Like definitely the two most improved really across Japan, I'd say in that time span, they've got to be two of the most improved just across the board in any company.
Couldn't agree more. Main event on that show was, like I said at the beginning, it was mentor and student versus mentor and student. So you had to stack. Let's just go with last names. I'm not even going to try.
Tatsumi Fujinami.
Thank you. And Manabu Soya versus Kento and Jinsei Shiozaki. This went 26-18. It was a little long, but I thought it was still good because I thought there was a story being told, especially on the Fujinami Soya side, where there was beef after Soya was left, and at least the story being told was there was still maybe some hurt feelings, disruptive feelings, whatever you want to use in this sense, and the match itself was being used to kind of soothe old wounds between mentor and student when it was between Soya.
And Fujinami just slapped Soya, his partner, to start the match. It's like, all right, motherfucker, go.
Yeah, it's like, okay. That's what the great part about Japanese culture is in this scenario, where it's just like when you have that mentor and student, I guess, relationship, the student is so subversive. You're subservient, whatever word you want to call it in this sense. It's funny to see it play itself out, especially when Keno is like, he's going to Jinsei is like, I'm ready to tag out. Jinsei is looking at him like, man, you better handle that old man. I don't know what you're trying to tag me here for. You better fuck him up. I'm like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. And that's what I love. The fact that they have this much power over their students. And they were going to, in this case, Jinsei was going to send Keno in. You're going to have to beat the 70-year-old man's ass. Otherwise, you're going to have to come back and deal with me. It's one of the greatest relationships in professional sports, bar none. I love it.
Yeah, I went 4 on this match as well. I think, yeah, just the thread of both the mentor-student relationship and then also having Keno, the GHC heavyweight champ, and Soya, his challenger, who also happened to be part of the same faction for years. So it's like you had that all going on, and fucking Soya tapped his ass out, which, like, definitely did not see that coming. So, again, I'd be very surprised if Keno... What's that?
I thought the jumping DDT would have been the finish, and then he kicked out of that. I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Like I said from the jump, I do not think Keno loses, and I'll be pissed off if he does. That's just that. I mean, as great as Soya has been, and man, he has been great. If Keno loses the belt again without a title defense, I'm going to be fucking pissed. So, and if Soya already tapped him out, I'd just be hard-pressed to see him beat Keno again. So I think Keno wins. I think it's going to be a fantastic match. And like I said, I was very surprised not to see Soya get the victory over him, but definitely tapping him out. So, he'll have a little edge coming into, 1-2 here in the new year. So.
I couldn't agree with you more. For me, I just wanted to see Manabu Soya get this chance. When I first started to watch, he was one of the ones that really stood out for obvious reasons. I mean, the dude's a walking wall. So at this point, watching some of the matches with Congo as him being the enforcer, you was like, okay, I can see where this is, this could possibly.
We know he can do a lot more than that. Was kind of, I'm sure, where you were getting at, right?
Yeah, ultimately, yeah. I don't think he really ever had the chance or the opportunity to do so. this year's N1, the 2023 version of
He
the
crushed
N1
it.
was the one where he had the chance, and like you said, he just knocked it out of the park. And then from that point, like I said, as long as I get to see it, as long as he puts up a solid, strong effort, not much more that can be said about this. There is a angle that did come out of this. Before I forget about it, Kota Ibushi arrives in Pro Wrestling Noah. Speaking of guys dropping in and making noise, Kota Ibushi challenges Marufuji for that same January 2nd show, 2024. That would be the main event over Soya and Keno. I'm a little surprised on that, but
Me too. I
but
don't necessarily agree with that,
I don't
but
necessarily agree with it either. I was just going to say I would much rather, and this is just because of what I think. I guess the decline. I even hate to use that word when it comes to Kota Ibushi, but I like to keep it real.
it's warranted. Yeah, it's warranted.
The decline in Kota and the fact that you have a fairly hot GHC title match or matchup, better choice of words. I don't know. I'm a little surprised that this was the main event. Now I would have just assumed it had been the semifinal or whatever the case may be, and I would have been totally okay with that too. But if this is going to be the main event, then I expect Kota Ibushi to be in shape and be ready to trade 4 or 5 punch kick combos with the best of the best. So if that's going to be the main event, then I have expectations. But go ahead. What did you think about the angle? And obviously you're with me on this when you don't think it should be the main event.
I mean, I love that the match is happening for sure, even with Ibushi, being who he has been, which is very unfortunate. And like you said, this is the main event of, arguably the biggest Noah show of the year, even though it's at the very beginning. So I think this is put up or shut up time for Kota Ibushi in terms of like, are we ever going to get any semblance of the old Kota Ibushi back? Because I know I haven't seen any of it in the last year, 9 months, whenever he came back. And it's unfortunate because that is a guy who was by far my favorite wrestler in the world, basically 2018 up until COVID. So I hope he comes to play, and I hope it's a great match, and I have faith that it will be. And like you said, he's got, plenty of time to get his ass in gear, but just, not even just his body, which, is far from shredded and what he used to look like. He just doesn't look good moving around, and he's the opposite of smooth, and, he's been slightly botchy, just has not looked a thing like himself. So again, I'm excited for the match. I hope it delivers, but it absolutely should not be the main event. But I'm guessing that will help Keno and Soya raise their games because they should come out with a chip on their shoulder and want to fucking kill it and be, hey, follow that, motherfuckers. What do you got, Kota? So
I was going to say, you stole my thunder on that. That would be my total, fuck it. If we're going to be the semifinal, then we're just going to make it real, real difficult for you jokers to come on out here after the fact. I'll just say this about Ibushi, and then we can move on to the All Japan portion of the program. It feels like the Kota Ibushi that you're talking about, that you were describing, was left in that ring when he crashed and burned on that Okada G1 final, and we ain't seen that dude since. And that, that's a goddamn shame, because that's the guy that I was excited to see when AEW signed him over. That was the guy I'm excited to see, going forward. And we ain't seen a hide hair, a remote, entrance of that motherfucker anywhere close. So I'm very curious to see what he looks like. Like I said, I got expectations for it. I ain't going to, crucify the man if he doesn't come out and kill it, but he cannot look like he's been looking like he's been doing the last 2-3 times, whether it's AEW or anywhere else. It just has to look better. That's it.
And if he does not deliver here, I'd feel like it'd be hard pressed for. I mean, obviously, he's signed with AEW. We don't know what that means in terms of how many appearances and whatnot. But if he doesn't deliver here, it's going to be hard for any Japanese company to want to bring him in again. at least until he can prove that he can go at that level. That's again why I'm a little, surprised they got the main event slot, because if anyone's watched Kota Ibushi this year, it is, like we said, it is a far cry from the man pre-injury. And, obviously there were some personal things that went down with all this as well, but just physically, he has been, just a shred of what he was. So it's put up or shut up time, and it's going to be very, very intriguing. So like I said, I'm very excited about it, and I think they're going to have a tough task to follow with Keno and Soya. So let's see.
Now, the prospect of the matches should be good. Now, the execution, therein lies the rub. Let's jump over to All Japan as our boy Nakajima, like I have on the caption, your boy ain't playing. He taking all the gold, taking all the silverware, and we're just adding another cup to his trophy case. We're jumping straight to the real world tag league final, where you had Nakajima and his partner Hiroku Omori. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Takotu Omori.
Thank you. They were facing Miyahara and Aogi in the real world tag league final. Winner basically wins the cup. As far as it's 2 cups. It's not just one. So let's think like BSOJ, two trophies, but these are 2 monster ass trophies. Neither here nor there. Didn't watch any of this except for this one match, so I really can't speak upon the real world.
Yeah, I just watched one other match than this too. So it was it was Kento and Yuma against Yuma Anzai and what's the guy's name? I can't even remember offhand. Hold on, I got it here somewhere. Ryuki Honda, who is another kind of young up-and-coming guy that's got a lot of potential. So that match was like earlier in the tournament. I actually liked that match better than the final, even though the final was still good. But so, yeah, I watched only one more match than you. So you're not missing too much that I didn't see.
Okay, shit, that's okay. Damn, I'm almost a little upset, but neither here nor there. Omori and Nakajima win the match and ultimately winning the World Tag League final, Real World Tag League final. 20 minutes, 30 seconds, bell to bell. I thought this was really good. This was the first time I thought I really had a chance to see Omori in action. Nakajima felt like he was the senpai in this scenario and basically used him in that scenario in certain occasions. It just felt like, for whatever reason, at least the story that I'm taking away from this, Miyahara and Yuma Aogi cannot beat Nakajima for shit. Can't beat them by themselves, can't beat them together, just can't beat them. And the fact that you had Kento kind of getting a little pissed at the end of this match only is going to add to I guess that's the 20 or the 12/31, the New Year's Eve show that they have for the Triple Crown title. They're going to run it back. Obviously, Nakajima being the champion, Miyahara coming as the challenger. So let's talk about those 2 things. Talk about this match, the final, and then let's kind of preview the Nakajima Miyahara title match on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I went 4 on the match. I thought it was pretty damn good, but not great. But yeah, I did like how it was kind of Nakajima like kind of pushing Omori, and Omori ended up getting the pin, I think over Yuma, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. He ain't pinning Kento, but it was almost kind of having him not really do his bidding, but just kind of pushing him. And, it was interesting. It was something, it just had kind of a different feel to it. And yeah, Nakajima has come in and just taken this company by storm. He ain't playing. I didn't realize until Azar had told me he showed up I don't know if it was the press conference before the tournament, but a press conference dressed exactly like Antonio Inoki, which is just very funny for a variety of reasons, especially considering he's never even been in New Japan other than, little bits here and there. But so what a badass move. And yeah, he's come in and said, just try and beat me, motherfuckers. And they can't. obviously he and Kento had some great exchanges in this match. But yeah, Omori, not going to say he was the story, but I think he definitely got a nice rub out of this, pinning, Yuma, has had a hell of a year this year, including a nice, 5 or 6 month run with the Triple Crown title, which Nakajima took. So a huge win for Omori as well, and just kind of furthering Nakajima's dominance over those guys. And for the match coming up, I mean, we talked obviously a lot when they had their first match, and that was Kento coming to Noah and losing to Nakajima. Now Nakajima busts open the door, takes the Triple Crown title right away, essentially just smacks Kento with a sack of roses. Just coming in and showing him who the fuck daddy is. And I would be hard pressed if Kento wins this match. I think Nakajima's got to win.
I would be totally stunned if Nakajima
continuing the story of him just running the show here. And Kento, I mean, he's had that belt 6 times because there just frankly hasn't been a lot of top competition in all Japan. So I think this is good for him to kind of keep getting knocked down, because that guy's been running the fucking place for the last, 5-6 years. So, again, as someone who is like you, really just kind of getting into all Japan with any level of consistency, I think this is just the way this has to go. And, I think, does Kento end up being the one that takes it off Nakajima? Probably. I mean, I think, maybe late next year, kind of go that route. Maybe someone else gets it before, but it seems like that's probably where we're going, where Kento, him losing here would be his rock bottom, and then kind of slowly working his way back up, maybe winning the Champion Carnival next year and getting another shot that way. But yeah, I just can't envision Nakajima losing right now. The story, I think the story they're trying to tell is that this motherfucker is untouchable, and frankly, I love every second of it. So
I'm here for sure. I was going to say that New Year's Eve show is going to be the first All Japan show I want to watch from start to finish, and then try to pick that up into my rotation of ridiculous wrestling watching, because obviously there's a ton of talent on that roster, and I think that's a place where that young talent is going to thrive very nicely, and I like to see that moving forward. Did we want to talk about DDT, or you just want to do Wrestle Kingdom preview?
Did you end up watching any or no?
First 2 shows, so that opening night and day 1.
I mean, we can talk about a little bit. I mean, I would say on the opening night, what was it? Yuki Ueno against Higuchi. Very good match. I went 4 1/4. Ueno got the win as the champion. But no, nothing that really set the world on fire across either of the 2 shows. I thought the second show, I think it was Endo and Harashima, which you probably don't know much about Harashima, but he's the kind of like the Tanahashi, the aging ace. He's probably been KOD champ 8 to 10 times, really kind of carried the company for a very long time, but he's still got a little bit more juice than Tanahashi does. And he got the win. And Endo is someone we talked about coming in, he was my pick to win. I don't know if I have made that official or not, but we talked about Nakajima legitimately knocking his ass out when he was the champ, and he's kind of slowly been kind of crawling back up and had some good performances. So, and again, I think him losing the first match kind of lends towards that. We've seen a million times in tournaments. You talked about it with Bishamon earlier, where teams kind of stumble out of the gate, or individuals, and end up winning it. But I thought that was a very good match, and Harashima, really took it to him overall. But yeah, nothing really too much to report. What'd you think of what you saw?
Just, for the first real, dipping the toe of DDT the first 2 nights, I was like, okay, I caught myself, kind of looking ahead, like, okay, what's this next show? So in that scenario, it's done what I wouldn't like for it to do, as someone that hasn't really watched a lot of DDT, and in this scenario, clearly have just cherry picked the Grand Prix tournament matches. just guys that I thought have stood out. Cannon, I thought stood out against Harada in that opening round show. He just looks the part. He feels like he looks like Takeshita a little bit. Speaking of the next guy that is the next big thing or whatever you want to call it, Yuki Yana, Yana, if I'm pronouncing
Yuki
it.
Ino. I think it's just Ino, I-N-O, or Yuki Ino. It's Ino. It's so weird because there's Yuki Ueno, Yuki Ino, there's
Okay, yeah,
Yuji Ino. There's a lot of similar names. So
he
I
faced
think it's Yuki Ino.
Hiroshima. Let's try this again. He faced Hiroshima that opening night, opening round night or whatever the case may be, and just kind of like blew this dude out of the water. I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like,
I didn't even
okay.
watch that, so
It was pretty impressive. I only gave it 3.5 stars, but it didn't go that long because it was just literally like he came in and just blew Hiroshima out of the water. I was just like, oh, okay, so this motherfucker is no fucking joke. From that point, I thought the second night was good, not great. You talked about the main event. That was the best match of that second night of action, day one, is it called in this scenario. I'll just say this. I'm interested to kind of catch up on this as we go forward. I know they have two shows behind on that, but it didn't seem like.
So I was actually looking the other day, the 12-3 show, which would be the next show. I could not even find on Wrestle Universe. It just jumped
it's
straight.
On there.
Is it?
Yeah, I just had to. You had to like kind of go through. I think it's like in the archives or in the DDT section, but
because I saw like the 12-8 or 12-9, whichever the fourth show would be,
or whatever.
But I did not see 12-3 initially because that has it's Mao versus Chris Brooks, and Mao allegedly put his national title on the line in that match. So that's definitely one that I would like to see.
Okay, and then shit, say less, motherfucker. But yeah, DDT I think has gotten me at least interested to where I could cherry pick matches from shows.
And you're starting to just know who guys are and kind of what they're about.
Yeah, that's really the half the battle right there. From that point, it's just wrestling. You just you watch, and if they're good enough storytellers, they should be able to tell you a story without you having to be delved into with too much other exterior nonsense. But neither here nor there. Like I said, I thought the DDT shows were good, and I'm looking forward to watching these next two tournament shows coming up, watching the whole thing and seeing who ends up coming out of this, because I think DDT is going to be really interesting, at least for me, towards the end of the year, because like I said, it's something I don't normally watch, and I caught myself already kind of peeking ahead of what's coming up. So that means I'm just curious.
Hell yeah.
Let's close this thing up. Let's do some Wrestle Kingdom picks.
You mean this sorry excuse for a Wrestle Kingdom?
Well, see, this is why we can't have nice shit right there. Okay, we getting ready to roll out the Global Heavyweight Championship, and your ass is over here, sucking that crazy shit.
Just shitting all over it, baby.
Okay? Look, I can't say I disagree with you too much, but let's see what happens.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still excited about it because it's Wrestle Kingdom, and we talked about it last time. We don't need to get too much into it, but it just does not – the hype is just nowhere near the level that it typically is. And we mentioned a lot of repeats on the card, matches we've seen some 11 times, but others we've seen twice in the last few months. So, and just the main event, it's fine, but it's just nothing near the level of the main events that we're used to. But let's get into it. I
can't say I totally disagree with that, just for the fact that we've seen the main event probably one time too many leading up to this. But
they've been battling in 6-man tags since the summer, for pretty much nonstop, it feels like. And just here's the thing at the end of the day. I think everyone and their brother thinks Naito is winning, and he should. But because of that, it just kind of feels a little hollow. And then it's like, oh, if Sonata wins, like No one really wants that.
Dude,
So
I'm gonna be the saltiest motherfucker about
that's what I'm
4:45
saying.
in the morning on January 4th that you will probably ever meet in your entire goddamn life.
It's just a no-win situation here. I think the match will probably be pretty good. I don't think it's gonna come anywhere near 5 stars. Hopefully, I'm wrong. But I don't know. That's all I got. I just can't say anything else.
The say less, motherfucker. That's just one less match we got to talk about because we both got Narita on that one. That's for sure. All right,
Yeah.
let's start with something pretty easy, I guess. I hate to sound like Bill in this because there's not really easy matches to predict. Shingo versus Tamatonga for the Never Openweight Championship. Tamatonga, obviously the former champion, dropping the title to Shingo. Shingo now holding the title, allowing Tamatonga to get his triumphant comeback and hopefully win back the title. You are shaking your head already. Go ahead, take a dump on it.
I just don't really care. We've seen it twice in the last, since the G1. Both matches were solid. I think that one was a 20-minute draw. The one thereafter was definitely better. I think I went 4.25 on it, maybe. But again, it's similar situation, but different in terms of like, okay, Tama's had this belt twice, lost it right away both times. Shingo just won it from him. Do we really want to see Tama win it again? And then that just kind of makes Shingo look. It's just no one's going to come out of this looking very good, ultimately. I don't know. I think Shingo wins. And yeah, I don't know. I'm getting more discouraged as we're trying to talk about it because I'm trying to hype myself up and I just can't. I think it'll be a fine match again, but I just don't care. I'm sorry.
Now, if it would be different if they didn't have that match where I guess the match that ultimately for Tama to lose the title was that in
it was one of the shows in this. I think of the Lone Star Shootout, maybe.
Okay, sounds right. And then
one of those shows in the States that happened pretty quickly.
Then he challenged Trent challenged him after the fact, and now I think that was in Vegas or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Even neither here nor there. Just Tamatonga just never really having a proper title run has always been my biggest problem with him being a never openweight champion. I mean, it's great him being the champion, but I mean, if you don't take it off of him right away, then what's the point of him even winning the title to begin with? So, I would like for him to win, but I just don't see it happening. It's Shingo, for Christ's sake. He's a former IWGP heavyweight champion, and so I'd expect him to be treated as such in this scenario. No knock against Tama. I love him. Hopefully he can get this, global heavyweight title that's getting ready to come on to David Finlay. Get it off of him as far as I'm concerned. Right now,
I do see again. That's a feud I just have no interest in seeing again because we've just seen it for several months, back and forth.
I can't disagree. I think that's the one problem with New Japan I've been having, at least in 2023, is the lack of just really intriguing feuds / storylines.
I think since, frankly, Tsuji's comeback. So I think the first half of this year was awesome. And, I feel like multiple times we're like, New Japan's back. Sakura Genesis was a major highlight. Obviously, Tsuji, a major highlight. I think the G1 was good, but not great. But just everything from Dominion on has just felt very convoluted from a booking standpoint and just not much direction. And that's kind of like we've talked about Sonata, transitional champion, et cetera, et cetera. It's like this all kind of feels like a reset has been happening this whole year. But this Wrestle Kingdom has suffered as a result because I think Gato and company just haven't quite been able to just wrap their heads around the direction they want this company to go. And I think this show is showing that because it's just a lot of the same matches we've seen before. But, I think the future is still very bright. And obviously we've got all these young guys who are really grabbing the spotlight and running with it. But it just, this show just feels really off to me, just as a whole. And none of those guys are going to be fucking featured, maybe in some
that's a problem. I don't like that. Now, somehow, some way, you're going to have to start figuring out how to get the Rens, the Shotas, Sujis,
all the guys that will get us excited are not even on this card.
And that's a problem.
Some
of the guys that are on this card will get me excited. Case in point, War Dogs versus Catch 22 for the.
Honestly, one of the matches I'm most excited for on this show.
I couldn't agree more. I love both sets of the War Dog tag teams, whether it's the heavyweight set with Alex Coughlin and Gabriel Kidd, or in this scenario, just over the top shit talking, just, have your censor button ready to hit at any given point when it comes to Clark Connors and Dan Maloney, Catch 22 and TJP and Francisco Akira. Apparently, Francisco Akira has been doing some things over in All Japan that I saw recently in a.
I think I remembered seeing he'd had some matches over there, but I, of course, haven't seen any of them. But
I was going to say that was something I wanted to check out, and I haven't had a chance to as of yet. But something to look forward to, I guess, in 2024 with Francisco Akira doing 2 different promotions. That would be something interested in. So let's talk about it. You got the challengers, Catch 22, the winners of the Best of Super Junior Tag League versus the champions in War Dogs. I'll go first this time. I'll let you go first last time. It would be hard for me to. I like both teams a lot.
Me too.
I don't know if I wanted to. I pick the team that has the story behind it and Catch 22 to finish the story, so to speak, and a la Cody, or I'll go with the War Dogs as to retain. I'm gonna take War Dogs to retain. Fuck it. I think somebody's got to, all the baby faces can't win, all the good stories can't end in a good way. So this might be one of them stories where, you're gonna have to be a little pissed off for about 5 or 10 minutes if you don't like Bullet Club. So yeah, I'll take Bullet Club here.
I'm with you too. After much deliberation, I'd like to see these guys have an extended run. They've been so fucking good. I mean, don't get me wrong. TJP and Akira, I think, have been the best junior tag team of the last, pretty much since I started watching New Japan. I think they are the best junior tag team. I love everything they've done. But yeah, I kind of agree. It's not all going to be coming up smelling like roses after this show, and I think this is definitely one where the heels are going to triumph. And but like the other tag match, which we didn't make our picks, I think it could go either way. But I'm with you. I'm sticking with the Dogs
right now, because that's the next one on the Wikipedia page. It's the heavyweight tag titles. You got ELP and Hikuleu, the strong tag titles champions, versus Bishiman, the IWGP tag team champions. Winner takes all. We're going to unify the titles here. So who takes it?
I'm going with ELP and Hikuleu. Like I said earlier, smart money says Bishamon. But like you said, it's like they've already done it all. They've won World Tag League 3 straight times. They've won the tag titles at least twice. I think this is just that moment to put over another team. And Bishamon just doesn't need it. As much as I love them and as happy as I would be to see them win, I just think the smart move here would be to go with the younger guys, really give them that stamp. And yeah, and like I said earlier, I think those two have meshed so well as a team, and I think they deserve it. So I will go with ELP and Hikuleu here.
I couldn't agree with everything that you said, and on that point, I'm gonna still take Bishamon.
I knew you were.
I was like, yep.
Oh, so here's one other thing. Do you think this could turn into a best out of 2 out of 3 falls? So that's kind of the direction. Right when the match ended, obviously we knew what direction this was headed. I kind of thought it would be, given that each team is 1-1 already, and it's going to, they already went 40 minutes. Granted, they're not going to get that time on a Wrestle Kingdom. And maybe that's why they're not doing best 2 out of 3 falls, because it took them 1 fall to go 40 minutes that you would need a good amount of time. But that's kind of where my head was at. And hell, you could still have an incredibly compelling 2 out of 3 falls match in 20 minutes. But I don't know. I think it'll be great again. So, but yeah, give me ELP and Hikuleo.
Fair enough. All right, let's jump to the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match. You got El Desperado challenging Hiromu Takahashi. Hiromu being the ace of the junior division, holding it down once again, waiting patiently for Desperado to come back from surgery to challenge for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. I will go first. I think this is El Desperado's time. This is no knock against Hiromu. He's LIJ. I'm LIJ. Love him to death. But this has been a time where I have been patiently waiting for others like a Master Wato and guys of his ilk to come along and have some fresh matchups. Hiromu has done his job with this title. He's kind of made up for the few times he's had the title and has gotten hurt prematurely and not had a really proper run. This is about as good as it's getting. I don't think you can squeeze too much more out of this lemon if you wanted to. That's why I'm taking El Desperado to finally get a little comeuppance on his long-term rival, Hiromu Takahashi. Who you got?
Well, let's not say finally, because Desperado beat him 2 years ago at Wrestle Kingdom, which again is a problem here. I love these guys and I love their feud, and it's the last thing I want to see right here, because why? It's so fucking cold. Like, yes, Desperado had the injury, but even before that, those two haven't interacted in forever. We talked, I think, 2 episodes ago, pretty much saying this better be Mike Bailey or bust, because Mike Bailey beat Hiromu. It would make sense for him to challenge again. And then Desperado just comes at, and you know how much I love Desperado, and how we spent a whole episode sucking him off a little while back at the very beginning and the very end. It just, to me, and I said it, this match happened 2 years ago, and that was Desperado's moment. He beat his rival at Wrestle Kingdom, and now we have to see it again? Why? The booking is just so bad. Like, they couldn't come up with anything better, and this is beyond this match, but you've already heard my displeasure about the others. It's just, and I'll say it again with ZSJ Tanahashi for the 12th time that match is happening. It's just like, what are we doing here? Again, I think the match will be fantastic. All of their matches are, but it just doesn't mean anything to me right here, right now. I'll pick Hiromu.
Next up, ZSJ versus Hiromu Tanahashi. You made that shit up. I'm just literally going right down the line. I swear to God. New Japan World TV Championship. This is going to obviously be on a time limit. Who you got?
ZSJ, for the love of God, if he loses. And again, I love Tanahashi. He's one of my favorite New Japan wrestlers, but why the fuck is he in this match?
All credit to the legend. I don't know. I guess it's like I said, it's the race to 20 title defenses, and Hiromu, I'm sorry, not Hiromu, but Tanahashi has beaten ZSJ in a preview smaller match on the way to this. So you got it. So there you go. That's all I got.
I can't remember if my math. I mean, I remember looking before the last show. It may not be 11 times. It may be 7 or 8. But this match has happened a ton in the last 5 years.
I think double digits feels about right.
Okay.
I thought 11 or 12 was the right number. When you said 12, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So
again, I'm beating a dead horse here. But why? Couldn't you have come up with anybody else in this spot? We said it so much about Tanahashi this year. The guy's out of fucking gas. Yeah, this is only a 15-minute match, but he doesn't need the spot.
No, somebody else. This is the spot where you could have a Shota.
I mean, it was Ren last year, and now he's not even on the fucking card.
Unfortunately, that's their spot. And I don't think they want to disrespect Tanahashi in favor of someone that's underneath him. That's just my guess. You call me what you want. I could easily be wrong. Next up,
hold on. Just in general, we already talked about it, but this whole year has been about building the next generation, and they've done so brilliantly. And yet, none of these fucking guys are on the card at all. I mean, granted,
I'm gonna hold out hope. There's the,
the
Tokyo Dome starts what, a couple of days. There'll be sometime this week, the 21st, the 22nd.
I just think I just can't see them adding a singles match at this point, even though Ren and Shota definitely should be on this card.
This is going to be, that's what I'm saying. Somewhere that's where you're going to have a multi-man match somewhere on this Joker, where you have Ren on one side, Shota on the other, at the bare minimum. Other guys,
think we get the same with Tsuji and Yuya? Because if Yota Tsuji is in the fucking New Japan Rumble, we're gonna have a problem here.
Okay, God, I cannot wait. For those, this is the one of the times where I'm glad we do a visual media, because the look on your face meant business. Like you were getting ready to go to Gato and fuck him up, and you don't have Yota Tsuji on this card. I'm not.
It's crazy.
Not nearly as convinced about Yota Tsuji and Uemura being on the main card. If anything, my fear is they'll be in the Rumble in some, or
what a travesty.
You know, that's what we're doing beforehand, like we've done in the past. I can totally see them, both of them, being in that Rumble versus like Red and Shota actually having their stand-alone match, whether it's another singles match or a multi-man match.
I already can't wait for next year's Wrestle Kingdom.
Next up, we got a triple threat Bill Vegas special. Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley versus David Finlay for the inaugural Global Heavyweight Championship. I will go first because I have thoughts on the name of this fucking piece of shit title. Global. Y'all couldn't do no better than that. No better than that. This sounds like, what was Jeff Jarrett's fucking Global Force?
That's Global Force Wrestling, yeah.
It's horrible. It might as well say World Heavyweight Championship #2. That's what this makes me feel like. You use, instead of using the word world, you used global. So as far as I'm concerned, you're basically telling me whoever wins this is the #2 guy. So instead of just saying, you know what, hey, we made a mistake,
let's bring back the Intercontinental Championship
and bring back the IC title
and the lineage of that belt.
Okay, but no. What are we going to do? We're going to just double down on the mistake we made and fuck it up.
Make another new fucking title.
You don't need it.
Excuse me, a new prop. Excuse me.
If you wanted to bring back something, this was the shit to bring back. I ain't even mad about the match itself, to be perfectly honest. The match itself, the running theme, it should be fine. You got 3 of the best guys, or 2 of the best guys in the world, and David Finlay, so you should be okay. No disrespect to David Finlay, take for what it is. It's a little disrespect. You just caught a stray wherever you at in this world. I'll just say this. This is not a match that I'm looking forward to. And all that being said, I'm going to take David Finlay to win this Joker because it makes the most goddamn sense.
Yeah, David Finlay's definitely winning. And again, that's kind of it's just, this all feels so predictable, or at least the big matches that quote unquote matter the most. Finlay's got to win. And I mean, unless, I guess a part of me could see Ospreay winning, and that's like a reason to keep him around and in New Japan more. I could see it, but I think it's going to be Finlay. And similarly, I think he's gone so cold of late, and I've still got.
It's not even his fault. The book put him off.
Yeah. I still got faith in him. I still love War Dogs and everything they're doing, but again, it's just cold, and him showing up and destroying both the belts was just so random. I mean, yeah, his reasoning was sound, I guess. You know, people in Japan or whatever think I'm Irish, or people I don't remember what the fuck he said, but
you're on the right track.
yeah, regardless. I mean, obviously, love Mox, love Ospreay. I like David Finlay, but this just isn't moving the needle for me yet again, and just feels too predictable. And like the unpredictability here would be Moxley winning, and I don't even want to see. Like, I don't want any of these guys to win this match. It's
Honestly,
just,
I mean,
you know who I would love to see in this match? Ren Narita, Shota Umino, Yota Tsuji. How about that for a fucking global fucking champion of the fucking world, huh?
I was gonna say I don't want none of them jokers to hold that title. That just makes them sound like they just the backup to Okada, Naito, and whomever else. Man, shoot for the stars, man. Let this global heavyweight title just dissipate to the background where it belongs. Bring back
again. I think this will be a great match, and it's obviously rare that we get a triple threat in New Japan.
That's the reason why I think they're doing it. Outside of that,
but I just don't care. Yet again, like that is the theme here, and like I'm wearing a fucking New Japan hat right now. We know everyone who listens to this show and knows me knows I fucking love New Japan. It's the best promotion in the world, minus the COVID year or two.
Mm.
And I just hate that I feel this way, but it just is what it is. And again,
the booking has definitely set it up to where now this feels like a regular show versus arguably their biggest show of the year, but hopefully
it does.
Next up, singles match, Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. Danielson winning round 1, making Okada tap out. Now we're running it back in Japan this time on Okada's turf. I'll let you go first. Who you got?
I mean, again, predictable. Okada ain't fucking losing this match. And I think it will be great. I think it will be better than the one at Forbidden Door. I think this could be a 5-star match. But am I excited about it? Not really. You know why? Because we just saw it. And it's not a dream match anymore. It lost all the specialness from it. And, that match disappointed. I still went 4.5. It was still really good. I don't think Bryan breaking his arm really changed that much. I can almost say I know it will be better. I know it will be great. I think it will be the best match on the card. It's still probably the one I'm most excited about, and I'm not even that excited for it. But I guess I am, because it's like, okay, you've got to top what you did the last time. What are you going to do? I think having Danielson in the Tokyo Dome with that crowd is going to be awesome. But it just lost the luster because it should have happened here first. And then it just would have been that much more special. And fucking AEW took that away. It's like they're taking everything away, all of our nice things. But yeah, Okada's absolutely winning. I think that is the lock of the show here.
Yeah, that was going to say I got Okada as well. I would be very, very surprised if Danielson goes 2-0 over Kazuchika Okada, but weirder things have happened. And then obviously the main event, you have Sonata versus Naito for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. We're both taking Naito there.
I didn't think I could get less excited for this show, and I am less excited for this show after talking about it.
Yikes. So much for that. Don't let our lack of enthusiasm dissuade you from joining us later on as we break this thing.
So much for that.
Yeah. Hopefully we're just dead ass wrong, and this way, you can.
Okay, so having said all of that, I still think this will be a very good, enjoyable show. But just the hype coming in is negative for me compared to previous Wrestle Kingdoms.
A lot of the things we've already seen, and that's where I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they do it differently this time around, especially with like Sonata and Naito. We have seen a summer plus of that, and it's gotten to a point where I'm ready for those two guys to go their separate ways.
You know what I'm more excited about than Wrestle Kingdom? I'm dead serious. New Year's Dash. because that's usually where they kind of reset, start
That
some new
everything.
angles.
Yeah, no, I could
Yeah.
totally see that. I could totally see that. New Year's Dash is always it's a
Some
it's a
shit's
show
going
that
down
knows
typically.
coming. They don't even announce it until the day of. So in that scenario, I can totally agree with you on that. And I think at this point, New Japan just needs a hard reset, and we need to just start over storylines again and start building this shit up from scratch.
Yes.
Two things. Let's talk about upcoming shows and things on coming shows. The next show, whenever it is going to be our first 2023 year in review show. We're going to pass out, I'm calling them the Screaming Phoenixes, so that will, or at least exploding or screaming. I haven't decided which one really is of yet. I'm leaning towards screaming, but exploding does initiate the rebirth of the Phoenix itself. So something to think about. I'll let
We'll
you
workshop it.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll discuss it obviously off the year, but we'll be passing out some awards for Match of the Year, Wrestler of the Year, Feud of the Year, whatever else I can think of. A steal from BFR moving forward. So look forward to that. And young Brett has given your boy a homework assignment on a written scale this time around.
Oh,
Brett has
yes.
going to delve into a top. What's the number? I'm assuming it's at least 100.
Well, I'm probably going to do a top 50 for our purposes. So top 50 matches from Japanese promotions I'm going to do. But I challenged you to rank your top 25 because I am a rankings guy. You typically are not. But obviously, we've talked enough about this shit. We've given star ratings. Like, I think you could come up with a list.
Yeah,
And I'd be very curious to see because more often than not, you and I are right on the dot or a quarter star off.
So yeah,
So I'll be curious to see how your list compares to mine. And with that, we're not including Forbidden Door. It's going to be all shows that are under the banner of a Japanese promotion. Not necessarily happening in Japan, like New Japan shows that occurred in America count, like Royal Quest counts, but not Forbidden Door, for example.
Correct. So like Wrestle Kingdom obviously would be or something that would be in play where, like you said, Forbidden Door would not be in play. So let's think for your top 25 or top 50, if you want to play along at home with us, think anything under the New Japan banner, Pro Wrestling Noah, Stardom, TJPW, you name it, that's where we're going with it, because obviously that's our focus on this podcast, where we're talking straight puroseau and Joshi pro style wrestling. So in that scenario, look forward for that coming up, a list of Brett's top 50, JCB's top 25. And like I said, we're going to talk about the year in review at some point. We're probably going to be doing this in the next couple of weeks, give or take, depending on how things go. We're shooting for the end of the year to get it done. It might have to take me doing a double dip on a Thursday afternoon before BFR, but hopefully that is the goal. If not, the first of the new year 2024, right before Wrestle Kingdom, we might have a little spot carved out there as well to get this thing done. Anything that I missed?
No, I guess, did we want to just real quick do some picks on the Noah New Year's show as well? I know you had pulled that one. Obviously, we talked Kento Soya, but I know there's a few more matches announced for that, right?
Yes, there is. Give me just a second. Where is it?
To reiterate, I'm picking Kento in that match. And as we talked about, I think it's going to be a banger. And probably with it being in the semifinal spot, may make it even more of a banger for the reasons we discussed, with those two guys being pissed off that they're getting upstaged by a washed-up Kota Ibushi, or hopefully not washed up, but he has been certainly that.
Kota Ibushi in the bathroom, whatever, taking a shower. What the fuck? Just get hit. I hope that's not the case. I agree with you. I got Kento in the of the semi-main events against Manabu Soya. I will say this: GHC / Noah, whatever you want to call him, they are notorious for a no title defense scenario. We've seen it before.
Yeah, look at all of last year.
I would be very, very surprised if that was the case here. Hopefully that's not. We get a Keno title defense and we could keep things moving along with him, facing other guys. I think Keno could have a very interesting title run if given the opportunity. Let's just go ass backwards here. GHC Junior Heavyweight title match coming up. You have Daga as the champion versus Ita as the challenger. I'll go first. I don't give a rat's ass either way.
Me neither.
I just don't care. I'll take Daga as the actually take that back. I'll take Ita because he's been super over coming up to this point. Fans actually like his crazy ass. Daga just seems kind of the guy to be holding the title for the moment. So yeah, I'll take Ita to take the title off of Daga.
Me too, and also don't really care too much about that one.
The aforementioned washed-up Kota Ibushi versus Marufuji in a singles match.
Kind of a tough one to pick.
I'll let you go first on this one. Who you got? Ibushi or Marufuji?
I mean, I got to take Ibushi. I think obviously Marufuji's on the back nine, but he can still go. We've seen that plenty of that this year. But if you're going to bring Ibushi in, and hopefully he looks the part, I just think he's going to win. I think he's got more to gain from it. I would assume this probably isn't going to be a one and done, but who the hell knows? If he's given, like we said, given a main event slot, like to me, that's like, all right, this motherfucker might be around a little bit. But again, it's a fascinating match, and we talked plenty about it earlier, but I'm going to take Ibushi.
I'll take Marufuji is someone I've already professed my love for, and this would be a great way to show my support, even though I agree with you totally. Why bring Kota Ibushi in if you're not going to have him go over? ZSJ and Ogawa versus Tanahashi. That's just great. Tanahashi.
Little Wrestle Kingdom preview here.
Yeah, I was just going to say, these two just can't get away from each other at this point. God damn, what the fuck? I'll go first. I would take ZSJ and Ogawa over Tanahashi and Hayata. Who you got?
Me too. And it'll be nice to see ZSJ over there. I know he did some Noah stuff like before he came to New Japan, like, 2014, 15, 16-ish, but I can't recall him showing up there since then. So, and I know he and Ogawa have some history. So, yeah, I think it'll be fun. I don't think it's going to light the world on fire, but yeah, I'll take ZSJ and Ogawa as well.
One more match to talk about, GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Title in a triple threat match. You have the challengers in Ninja Mac and Alejandro versus Yohei and Tadusuke versus the champions in Dragon Bane versus Alpha Wolf. I've said that Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf are the team that a lot of people don't know, and if you have not seen them, then you need to DM me and let me give you my Wrestle Universe account so you can watch these jokers for yourself. These are the guys that I cannot wait to watch shit unfold with. It's already going to be crazy because it's a junior heavyweight match, so that means somebody's going to end up in the first, second, or third row at any given point. That probably is going to be Dragon Bane, but we'll see that here in a little bit. I'm going to take the chance to retain. They are just the most over team in the company, whether it's junior or heavies. It just doesn't matter. They are the most electric team, the most exciting team, the most entertaining team. I cannot wait for this match. Obviously, as you see me rocking back and forth, I'm getting excited just thinking about this shit. Give me Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf to retain. Who you got?
I agree. And yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think this is going to be a complete fuck fest of a match, and I can't wait. It's going to be outstanding. Nothing like seeing Alpha Wolf throw his brother around, and those motherfuckers do some wild shit. So
recklessly throwing his brother around to the point where I'm just like, oh God, please don't hurt him. Please don't hurt him. That's your brother. No. Bye. smile.
But similarly, very pumped for that one. That's going to be action-packed.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. Wrestling's going to be just a nice little shit show right around that last end of the December going into January. We're once again.
And I'm going to be out of town, so I may not be watching a lot of it. So I'll have to catch my ass up that first week of January.
I was going to say that's the only thing I don't envy you about you going out of town for is the fact that then when you come back, we're just going to have a nice little buffet of waiting for your ass. So you might as well don't eat too much while you're down there getting all Happy New Year on these motherfuckers and shit. I think that covers it.
I think so, man.
All right, so let's wrap this bitch on up.
Not much over 2 hours here. Nice work.
I got 2:04 and running. So see, not under 2, but I shot it. My shot, it just rimmed off of the backboard a little bit. But that's what we do. You just keep shooting your shot, baby. Sooner or later, others don't go down. But either way, just keep shooting, motherfuckers. On that lovely note, it's time to bid you jokers adieu. For my man Brett Jager, for my cast running around here somewhere who've been awfully goddamn quiet, so that means they're doing some shit they ain't got no business doing. I gotta go check on them jokers. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Not YouTube. Well, yeah, follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on the Visionary Global Medias, all that shit. This episode should be coming out in the next couple days, give or take. So on that lovely note, we're out of here. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. All that good shit. Say, I love you to your parents because you only got one set of parents and you fuck that up. You'll be mad about that for the rest of your goddamn life. So be nice to your parents. Otherwise, Sam's going to leave you a nice little lump of coal. Brett, you got anything for these jokers?
I got nothing. See you.
We'll see you next time on the PSP, baby. Holla at your boys.